You have about $112,000 on your account, but dude, you are okay to drive a 2002 dumpster, I may say, you know? However, Vegas, baby, what is going on with Las Vegas? You're going there every single month or what?
Yeah.
Welcome to Finance Action, the show where we take action. My name is Romain and today I am with Alex. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Awesome. Alex, let's look at your profile. You are 29 years old. You're originally from Russia, but you currently live in Seattle. You work as an entrepreneur in digital marketing, but also as a real estate investor and an event producer. Is that right?
It is, yes.
Okay, awesome. Looking at the way you've rated your personal finance from chilling to Mayday, you've rated yourself as I'm okay, which is great to hear. Can you tell me a little bit more about your story and why do you rate yourself as okay?
I feel okay about where I'm at for sure. I think there's definitely opportunity for things to be better and more chill. So that I could be chilling more. Before I got into the entrepreneur world, I was in tech for a long time. So I worked for Apple for about 5 years, and I worked at Amazon for 5 years.
Very nice.
Had my little tech run, if you will. Really since Amazon, it just kind of became like I have so many different ventures and entrepreneurial projects that I was already sort of working on that I wanted to take that leap of faith and jump into the unknown.
Nice. Actually, Alex, tell me a little bit, because look, this is Seattle, right? And I myself work in tech too. What made you just say, all right, I am done with tech, time for my own stuff?
It's kind of like it all became kind of monotonous to me. Kind of like every day was the same. And I jumped around a few different roles, which was nice, but end of the day, it's still a lot of corporate structure. And I think I'm just kind of a creative person too. And so I really needed like a way to get out of those chains, if you will, and pursue my own like sort of creative entrepreneurial ventures.
Nice. And so your transition has been pretty smooth out of the corporate tech towards almost like a full entrepreneurship venture.
It's been okay. Yeah. It's been a little rocky sometimes. With entrepreneurial stuff, like there's going to be highs and lows. A lot of like unknown financials that came out of nowhere that I just wasn't even like prepared for.
Like what?
When you work at tech for a long time or any job for a long time, there's a lot of like stability. Not only in the paycheck, but in the fact that you get health insurance, you get stock options. As soon as I left the corporate world, I had to figure that out for myself. And that meant learning how to read through health insurance provider plans. What does all this mean? What are these deductibles, premiums, in-network, out-of-network? That was one thing I definitely wasn't prepared for. It took me a while to dig myself out of that.
Yeah, it's true that entrepreneurship, although it looks always amazing, and you see on TikTok, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I make millions here and there. Well, let me tell you guys, generally, at least for my experience and the friends that I have in entrepreneurship, it's not always that easy, especially for the first couple of years or the first couple of months. You really have to get into the groove of being your own boss, and that instigates a rigor and kind of standards for yourself. You cannot just, piece around and just expect things to fall every month. The responsibilities really falls on you, and you're the one that has to take care of your own destiny when you go entrepreneurial. So, okay, good to hear. I like to see that. And actually, you know what? That brings us to our first segment, which looks at your income and your assets. So Alex, tell me 3 jobs, right? We spoke about real estate, entrepreneurship, and even producer. Let's start with the number 1, digital marketing. So how much does that pay you per year?
$40,000 to $50,000.
$50,000? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's pre-tax, right?
Yes, pre-tax. Yeah,
okay.
That's just revenue. Yeah.
Let's move on to your real estate investments. So when you say real estate investment, what do you mean? What do you do with this?
Yeah. So I bought my first condo during the pandemic. As kind of like one of those, now's the right time, rates are low. I was still at Amazon at the time, so I had that cushion, which was nice.
Okay.
And so that paid off pretty well, even though I do have a hefty loan on that one that I'm still sort of fighting.
Yes. Okay.
But then after that, I bought 3 more properties with a business partner.
Wow.
And the goal really is just long-term cash flow from the properties. So we do Airbnbs, we do long-term tenants as well,
Nice.
medium-term tenants as well. Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be very interesting in your position to see how you can leverage good debt for your future. And we'll be discussing about that on those real estate investments. But today, how much does the 4 properties provide you per year?
Around $20,000.
$20,000. That's pretty good. And the last one, potentially, actually, for me, one of the most unique here that we're seeing, event producer. What does that mean? What do you do?
Yeah, that's kind of a big one. It's I have my own sort of company that helps artists on the road.
Okay.
And I tour manage music artists and help different event companies throw events, so like concerts, festivals, things like that, in a few different sort of scopes of work, if you will. It's almost like a freelance job, but I do have my own LLC just for tax purposes.
How do you make money from this? Like you're promoting them or?
So with the bands, I'm actually on the road with them. So like when we go on tour, like I get the tour bus for us, you know, I hire the crews, I do all of the production, I advance all the shows, create all the day sheets. And then obviously during the shows, I'm there just making sure the stage is run correctly, making sure the sound works, making sure the crew's happy, the band's happy, hotels, cars, lodging, all that stuff. Yeah.
But you have a team to do all of that. You can't do all of this by yourself, or do you?
Well, so I oversee it. So I manage the tour.
You're managing the tour. Okay.
Yeah, and that includes the finances too. So all the money stuff and all the routing and yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. How much does that provide you?
Well, that job is a little bit, I don't want to say unstable, but it kind of comes and goes.
Okay.
So like I'd say on the low end, maybe like 30 to 40,000 a year. On the higher end, up to 70 a year.
Wow. Okay.
Depending on how big of tours we get, and yeah.
That's fair. Okay, so I'm gonna just assume a middle range here of about $50,000. So if I sum, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So if I sum the digital marketing, the real estate properties, and event, you make $120,000 a year.
On a good year.
On a good year?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That brings your monthly net to about $7,000 net on average.
I think it's a fair place, yeah.
Just as a fun fact, actually, when we compare your current salary versus the median in United States for people between 25 and 34 years old, it is at $51,000. So you're almost at...
that's the U.S. average?
The U.S. median. So 50% make more, 50% make less. It's at around $51,000. You're much higher than that. Also, you live in Seattle, and it's probably going to be reflected in some of your expenses, and we'll be seeing this. Okay, cool. So 120K, nice at 29 years old. Awesome. On entrepreneurship, that's the big key to me. Making that money when you're by your own and as an entrepreneur is awesome. Okay, cool. Let's move on to some of your assets. Thank you for providing us with some of your statements, and let me tell you, I'm actually very impressed. Our friend right here got it. First checking account here, I see a statement balance of $45,000. Yes, sir. I also see a second one here at $30,000. But this one is more for your business, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the business accounts one. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any saving accounts?
I do have a savings account. Yep.
Okay. How much do you have?
I think last I checked, like 10,000. It's with American Express. It's one of those high interest yield savings accounts.
Nice. Okay.
So I barely touch it, but yeah.
What? So you pay every month, or it was a one-time lump sum that you put?
It's every 2 weeks. I think I'm putting in $150. I think that's what the auto deposit is.
Yeah. Okay. So I like this saving strategy. This is kind of a similar strategy as retirement funds. Sometimes it's money that you don't see. You know,
I forget I have it. Honestly,
there
it's
you
just
go.
Gone from my account.
Yeah, exactly. I really like this. It's sometimes they take it right away from your paycheck, and you don't even do it. Like for example, me, for some of my salary, what I do is I set up with my corporation 2 checking accounts or 2 accounts. A portion goes to my personal checking, and a portion goes straight into my investment. And it's like I'm just earning less per month, but my mindset is going to be based on the money that I get on my personal, and the other one I forget. And guess what? It's a very nice way to save money without realizing. So I like that. Okay, we'll be moving on from that. Do you have other investment accounts?
Other investment accounts. I do have a Vanguard Roth IRA.
Okay. How much do you have?
I think I have like 5,000 in there.
Okay.
And I also have an E-Trade account, and I only have that one because when I left Apple, that's where they poured the RSUs.
That's right.
Which I haven't touched that account honestly in a long time.
Okay. So what our friend here is referring to is once you work for certain corporations, you are being provided with not only a base pay, but also with stock compensation. Okay. And this is generally where very high executives or just kind of companies, large corporations, they pay their employees. They have a fairly small, relatively small base, and everything goes into stocks. And generally it's vested, meaning that it takes time for the stock to actually come to your account depending on how long you stay in the company. Okay. So you stayed 5 years at Amazon, 5 years at Apple. You probably have stock that has been fully vested. And that's what we are seeing here. But you've probably, sold a lot of your other stocks that you may have accumulated during that time, don't you?
Yeah, I used to do some stock trading for sure.
Okay.
That was more of a hobby. I never really got that into it. I wish I got more into it,
Okay.
to be honest.
Do you have any other assets?
My car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me more about your car. What do you own?
My car, geez. Anyone who knows me is like, oh, his car.
Oh, really?
It's it's kind of a piece of crap. It's a 2002 Volkswagen Jetta. I bought it used in like 2013, so about a decade ago, I think.
Wow.
I think it was been a decade. I don't know. It seems like it. Bought it like 100,000 miles.
Oh my
and
God.
Now I'm at 210,000 miles.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So this has to be just a perfect example of someone here that just briefly speaking about these assets right now in liquidity, you have about $112,000 on your account. But dude, you are okay to drive a 2002 dumpster, I may say, and you're fine with that.
It's a good car. It works.
Like that's the whole thing about this here, guys. Sometimes it's not about, this guy here can literally buy a brand new Mustang if he wanted to, okay? With that much amount of money on the side, come on, you can. But he's rolling into this, and that tells you that, number one, appearance is not everything, and number two, this is individuals that prioritize their spending. And I'm not saying, okay, maybe, this is a little bit extreme here at 200,000 miles when you have $100,000 on your account. But look at this. I mean, this is, to me, smart decisions, although, I would potentially think about upgrading just because of safety components, like airbags and stuff. You don't want to be stuck on the highway.
I don't think I have those. I don't think I have airbags.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, 2002, dude, like the expiration date is already passed.
Right.
No, but jokes apart, no, I think you should. And I've never said this on this show. I think you should upgrade your car just for safety purposes. And I've been into a car accident that wasn't my fault, and thanks God I had airbags.
I don't have AC.
Oh, nice. Okay,
which sucks in the summer. I'm suffering.
Yeah, but come on, dude. Like, no, you can afford this. All right, we'll be discussing this. And you pay? How much did you pay for this?
For the car?
Yeah.
I bought it, I think, for like $3,000.
Wow.
It was used off of like Craigslist, just some random guy that we found.
Dude, this is so good. Yeah.
I think I've put in probably about $4,000 in repairs over the 10-ish years that I've had it.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good. Any other assets?
Just the real estate stuff, really. Yeah.
Yeah, real estate. Okay, cool. All right, so that brings today, if you need to sell everything you have, to $112,000 worth of assets, dude. Well done. Well done at 29 years old. And if I may ask, do you actually come from money, or were you helped, or did you build everything yourself?
That's a tough question to answer. I mean, it's hard. I don't feel like I came from wealth, but I guess, I think anyone who kind of lives out here is already in the higher percentage, so sometimes it's hard to really evaluate where I'm at.
Okay.
I definitely didn't get handouts. I had to get scholarships for college. I did get a student loan, but I helped pay it off through grants and stuff.
Oh, so you have no more student loans?
No, all done with student loans.
Wow,
but at the time,
nice.
I had, I think, close to like 50, 60,000 in student loans when I was at UW.
How did you pay those student loans that fast?
Scholarships and grants in my senior year that were kind of working towards it. But then also there was a program, I think, with Apple at the time that kind of helped put some of my payroll money towards they matched my amount for like student debt relief type stuff. That and also just working a lot of hours and just paying it myself.
Good stuff, good stuff. Student loans, it really depends. Sometimes I not always in favor of paying them depending on the interest because money can be used better. I don't say don't pay a dime every month. I say pay the terms that it's owned. Don't pay minimum payments neither, but pay what is owned every month and maybe don't overpay because you could use your money sometimes for better outcomes. So, okay, I like to hear that. And then you mentioned real estate properties. You have a condo, but with your partner, you also have other real estate, 3 you said.
Yep.
How did you buy them?
So we bought those with cash.
Wow.
And they're in Texas.
Nice.
So the condo I have is in Seattle, and then we have the 3 properties in Texas.
Okay. Cash. All right. Those were like flips. Did you have to put money into it? Or because generally cash, what was the decision behind buying cash for real estate?
Well, partially because the loans, we didn't want to actually get into a loan with a bank. We had the capital. We were liquid enough to do it.
Nice.
And we wanted just to maximize cash flow. We didn't want to have to worry about paying a mortgage every month. We wanted just to take all the rent and pay off the expenses like the insurances, but then just capitalize on how much cash flow there was.
Okay. We can think about how to maybe leverage that as we think about your short-term and long-term goals, but we'll be diving into this just a little bit later. Okay, sweet. So let's move on to our next section here, which looks at your expense and debt. As always, we like to start our expense section with a fairly simple question. How much do you pay for rent, mate?
So right now I'm renting a room in Seattle for $700 a month.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Man, $700 a month, making $120,000 a year. Again, I'm kind of super surprised. You could bowl on this.
I know. I want to get rid of it. I don't even want to pay the rent. I want to buy another place and not have to worry about rent anymore.
Good mindset, guys. Good mindset. So I am actually considering doing a video where I compare the decision of renting versus buying. Sometimes buying, depending on where you live, is not the best. But $700, dude. I mean,
it's pretty good for the area.
Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. But you probably not hear too much based on your line of work.
Right. I mean, the only reason I really got that was because it is just like a small room.
I see.
All of my other stuff is like downstairs in the basement type thing. It's small because I'm almost never in town. I'm usually traveling for work. So.
Traveling for work. Okay.
But still, I don't want to have to keep having that money come out of my account.
I hear you. Okay. And then just, assuming basic utility cost, you are looking at housing expenses against your income, 10%. It's the best we've seen so far. We like to beat below 28%. So you are, again, exceeding expectations here. Just playing it low and playing it smart. I have nothing to say on this. Perfect.
I should say I'm chilling then instead of I'm good.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, you're not doing bad at all, man. Right now, what I'm seeing is really good. So your cost of your transportation expense against your income, 4%. Again, amazing score. We like it to be below 15%. I want to move on to some of the rest of your expenses here. As I look into some of your credit card statement, my friend, while you're not bowling on housing or transportation, restaurant is all over the place, huh? You, here I see Lorendo's $25. Big Mario's $28, plus Garibaldi $75. You are spending every single day in restaurants? What the heck, man? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate. I used to cook a lot, but because I work so much and travel, it's hard for me to find time, which I know is no excuse. Yeah. But it is, and I eat out pretty much every single day.
I see. I mean, QFC is a local supermarket every day. What do you do at QFC every day?
Yeah, I go and like go to the deli and like buy like one of those little like combo lunch platter things.
Oh my, I see. But that's probably because you're never at home, pretty much.
That's pretty
Even
much
during
it.
even during the day.
Yeah, even during the day, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Also, I live in a house that like is shared with other people, and so it's sometimes hard to cook, and like
Okay.
you know the fridge is full already with other people's stuff, and
Okay.
that's no excuse.
Okay,
I'm
so-
spending way too much on that. I know.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I sum actually at your sum last month for this, you are close to $1,000, man.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't want to say it, but I don't think it's bad in your situation, because your time is being reassigned differently. Now, I always encourage people to want to cook and so on, but for you here, other than the QFC every day, I mean, you're not bowling on sushi every day for lunchtime. You're getting a daily, okay. It's not crazy daily expenses for lunch. And at night, it seems to be mostly like bars. What, do you spend your life at bars?
Well, you know, working in the nightlife scene in music industry, I do
see.
tend to find myself in some perhaps unsavory places late at night when I'm hungry and thirsty with some friends.
Yeah, I mean, but you're pulling $150 nighter when you go out for drinks. What do?
Yeah.
You buy the whole crowd drinks or what?
Pretty much, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. I like buying my friends drinks. I can't help it. Like, I just, every time I'm at the bar, I want to just give everyone a round.
I
don't
see.
know.
Do they give it back to you though?
They usually do. Yeah.
Okay, and don't be the guy that's always spending for everyone and then they don't get it back. Huh?
I know. No, you're right. Yeah. And also, we probably shouldn't even be doing all that anyways. So,
Okay. Well, hey, you have to live a little. You're being so mindful on the rest of your expense and on mine. However, Vegas, baby. What is going on with Las Vegas? You're going there every single month or what? Because I see spending of like Vegas trips here over the past month, about 2 Vegas trip or so. What's going on with this?
I do like Vegas. I do love
Vegas too. But seriously, what do you do there?
I go there for work sometimes.
Okay.
I usually go there to spend time with friends. I'm sort of seeing somebody out there,
I see.
and so like
Okay.
it's the chance to visit her and also go to the casinos and
Oh.
gamble.
Okay, so you do gamble.
I do, yes. I love blackjack. That's my game.
Blackjack, okay.
Yes.
That is fair. How is your approach to gambling? Like, because okay, so gambling, guys. Number one, doing a preface. I used to work in Las Vegas. I worked there for 5 years in investment for.
that's cool.
Yeah, one of the biggest corporations there. I just love Las Vegas. I can't say it different. It's really a vibe that I like, but not just the strip, but all the surrounding nature and so on. It's a type of life that I really like. But there are rules that you have to set if you want to not get broke in Vegas. I mean, I could tell counts of stories about, people that have ruined themselves in Vegas. I mean, a fun fact, there is a reason why all the casinos in Las Vegas, you can't open the windows in rooms. I'll let you make a deduction on that. But you see what I mean? So gambling, okay, not the preferable behavior, but it depends. You can have also intelligent gambling. How is your approach on that?
It could be more intelligent, I think, for sure.
Okay. But do you come with a firm amount? Because that's kind of the way you want to do it. Or you just go with the card and you pull at the ATM every time you lose. I mean, that's the worst. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't do that.
Okay.
I usually come with like an idea of how much I'm gonna have, and I only pull out once. So I'm like, that's my rule. I'll pull out $100, and that's it. And if I lose it, I lose it. If I win, I'm all up. I'm only
When do you
open
exit?
to. That's the hard part.
When do you exit though?
What I try to do is like if I'm up, I will like put aside that money into a separate pile that I won't touch, and I'll only gamble with the original 100.
Okay.
So that I'll only ever lose the 100, and I'll have whatever the bonus is on top of that, which could be less than 100, it could be more, but it's at least something that is, better than nothing.
I am not disaligned with your approach. I am myself a little bit of a, entertaining gambler. And what I mean by that is I do not go gambling thinking that I'm going to win. This is not an equation that works. How do casinos in Las Vegas provide this experience if they were not making money? I mean, let's be real, guys. They make money. The math is on their side. Now, of course, there's a variety of game that has better odds. And I am actually pretty versed into this. I would know exactly what game to play that has the best odds for the player.
I should talk to you more. We got to plan a Vegas trip now, I guess.
Yeah. I just, it was my passion for a while as well. But this is my recommendation. Number one, if you have credit card debt, any bad debt, you should not be gambling. That's as bad as basic as it comes, okay? And I never gamble by myself. That's me. Because I feel like it's just an excuse of going out. If I gamble for entertainment. You're doing decent with this, quite a bit of expenses, but, I'm not too bad on you with this. How much would you say that you spend in Vegas per month?
I usually go for like a week at a time, and I usually go out at least 3 or 4 nights of that week to play. $100 each there, at least, plus food and whatever other fun activities we may find ourselves in. $1,000 probably.
Okay. However, my friend, you do not have any credit card debt.
Just like the monthly statements.
Yeah, but the monthly is fine. If you pay your debt every month in full, to me, it's not credit card debt. It's just you're using credit cards and you're playing the game of credit cards. So I like what I'm seeing here. You don't have student loans. You pay that up.
Yep.
You don't have car debt. You have good debt, which is mortgage. In other words, your condo. Okay? So right now, overall, what I'm seeing is really, really good stuff from you. It's not perfect, okay? Because of the food component, some of the little expenses, a little bit of shopping here and there, as well as your trips. But you need to live, okay? And so far, I'm seeing very good outcomes. Okay, well, so that is great. Thank you very much, Alex. So now I have a good assessment of some of your expenses. Let's move on to our next segment, the money case. Back with one of the favorite segments on our show here, guys, the money case.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
You've mentioned previously in the past that one of your goals is to build enough savings so that you can further continue real estate investments.
Yes.
I want today to show you physically how much you spend per month on all your dining out experiences, because it's easy to use the cards left and right at all time, but when you physically see how much you're offering drinks to your friend, which is nice, but maybe not all the time, my friend, here, you are spending, calculated, based on your spending during last month, $976 on your restaurants, drinks, and dining out. Look at this, my friend. Look at this.
Oh. Do I get to keep this? I'm just
I
kidding.
wish. $900+ spent on booze. Come on, dude. All right.
I know.
Trash this now.
All right, here we go. See you later.
Yep.
It was worth the beer. It was worth the food. That was that burrito. That was those tacos. This was, I don't know, something else that I probably shouldn't have purchased. Then another one.
All right. No, but physically, though, when you look at the money, doesn't it seem huge?
It does, yeah.
That's a lot of money for, something that potentially you could make more efforts, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. And let's move on to some of our recommendations. Now, this is what I would do if I was in your shoes, assuming the data that we've collected together. I am not a financial advisor, so just be mindful of that. Okay. So the way we like to organize our recommendation is 3 sections. Number 1, we identify your needs, okay? Number 2, your wants. And number 3, the goal section, which is the best, how much you want to save and invest per month. Looking at your needs, you're doing excellent, as we mentioned previously here. If something arises, if shit hits the fan, you need per month today, Alex, 1,750, which is not bad. You don't have a crazy rent and you don't have much transportation expenses, no minimum payment of cards, no debt, nothing. You're a free man. This, my friend, is 25% of your income. We like it to be less than 50. That's exceptional. So well done on that front. Let's move on to our second section, and that's probably for you one of the most painful ones. Your wants. So your wants here, stacking on eating out behavior as well as trip in Vegas and miscellaneous expenses. Look, I don't want to be the guy that tells you to, stops on all of that, because you're actually doing pretty good on the side. Okay, so you need to live, you need to enjoy your time as a young entrepreneur person. But I would rather have you invest that money potentially into your business, because, your goal here to build a real estate portfolio as well as expand on some of your entrepreneurship ventures. And so I imagine that reinvesting into your business could be more beneficial. However, given your situation and everything that we've discussed together, I am willing to allow you $1,500 per month on your wants. Okay? Now, this is assuming you're keeping this car. Personally, if I were you, I would reduce some of the wants that we've discussed and get yourself a decent car, please. Okay, so what does that leave you on the side? Well, your goal today, Alex, is to save per month $3,500. How does that sound? That's more than 50% of your income. Does that seem fair? Is it something that you can do?
Yeah. I think it's something I can do if I learn to really reel back my spending.
Okay, that's good. So tell me a little bit more about kind of what are some of your short-term goals here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, short-term goal, I definitely want to pay off that condo loan that I have.
Okay.
Just because I know it's good debt, but I know it's also just like something that's going to be hanging around my neck for the next 25 plus years. The rent I'm getting from that condo is great, but I'd rather, not have to worry about it being eaten up by the loan.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you have an interest of 3.3%. If you had just taken that loan at 7+%, I would say, okay, maybe it's worth considering. At 3.3, mathematically, as an investor, I would just go through its term. It's an excellent interest rate. You're making more money than your minimum payment on this. Financially, it is not worth it. I always like to say, pay debt. No, not in this case. Why? Because I want you to think from an investor perspective, how do you best leverage debt? So here, I want to speak about leveraging debt for your benefits, okay? In this case, when you take loans that are building equity, so you're not losing money on this at all. You're building equity at a very low interest rate. You're leveraging the money of other people in a very legal way and valid way. Yes, this is what a real estate investment is. I would not touch this, assuming you can maintain a mortgage. What I would do, though, is you have a ton of money saved on the side right now that is being hurt by inflation on checking accounts. Okay, so what I would like to see, if you can, put a portion of that into an emergency fund. You have about 10,000. I wouldn't mind you using an extra 10,000, so you put $20,000 on a high yield saving account and you never touch it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, max out your Roth IRA, $6,000 per year. This is Finance 101. How do you best set yourself for your future? For you, max out that Roth IRA ASAP, because right now you don't have much retirement accounts. You're living great of savings that are just standing here. Max that out. 3, you want to further invest into real estate. Leverage this either a couple rounds. If you're not in a hurry right away to invest that money into real estate, you can do what is called private money lender. What it is, and I do participate in this, you find a group of investors that are willing to use your money for short-term constructions, flips, and so on, where your money is being protected at the stage of the investment by the equity. And like, for example, right now, I have a proposition for someone that would be willing to pay me 15%. for 6 months. Not bad, dude. Not bad, because right now your money is just standing there doing nothing. While you think about your future real estate investment, you can make that money for use in a way that's very safe for you. Okay? Number 3, you and your partner have bought property cash, those 3 properties. Okay? I like cash properties, but how can you bring that to the next level is by potentially, if you're interested, there's always a measurement of risk, is leverage the equity built on those properties. And you have a couple routes. Either you go for what is called a fixed rate home equity, which means that if your house is worth $100,000, you say to the bank, hey, I would like to borrow $20,000 or that. And, they are going to give you a rate for this that is backed up by your home equity. So it's very nice generally. It's pretty advantageous, okay? It's a fixed rate. Another option that you have is called a HELOC, Home Equity Line of Credit. Personally, I don't like it. What is a HELOC? Is you're again taking equity of your house, a set number, but you are willing to take that during multiple times, and generally it's during a 10-year period. For 10 years, you're paying interest, and after that, you have to repay the loan after 20 years. For a 20-year period, sorry. I don't like this personally at all, and I don't think you should be leveraging that. So if I were you want to continue pursuing real estate investment. See how you can leverage this in the short term to make your money work for you. Continue building your savings. Work with your partner to potentially leverage the equity that you've built on those houses. And man, you're going to be on a roll because you've built a solid foundations with emergency funds set up for retirement. Now you have actually a life that allows you to think about investments. And that's the stage that many are not yet because they're stuck into credit card debt or bad debt or personal loans and so on. This here, guys, is a true example of next level. Once you're past the little kind of life circumstance or bad debt, then you can think about this. And now at 30 years old, you're going to set yourself very, very well if you continue with those behaviors. Now, of course, you're enjoying life with things on the side, but there are ways for you that you can leverage your assets for your benefits in real estate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I don't know much about using the line of credit, so I got to look into that for sure. Yeah, I should look into the private lending as well because I do have that money that's just sitting there. And
sitting there, doing nothing.
Part of the reason why we bought the last 3 houses with cash was because we had money sitting and we're like, we don't want this in a bank. Let's put it out into the market and make it work for us,
I see.
And so what kind of, so you're saying 6 months, 15% returns is pretty typical for construction type private funding?
Even more. I mean, there are brokers that allows you, now you need a certain level of confidence and you need to make sure they are backed up. So how does this private lending works? Well, generally it's a guy or a company that buys a house that they want to renovate or improve and so on. They're going to look for source of money other than banks, okay? So they're going to offer you a private lender money, a hard money lender. Here, give me $50,000 for 6 months until I sell the house. And I will give you every month an interest payment. And depending on how much you invest, generally the interest percentages increase. Okay? Right now, we are in a very good position as private lenders because money from the bank is expensive. The interest loans at banks are so expensive. Mm-hmm. So they're willing to pay more for your money. So you can easily return 15, 20% on this while still being protected by the asset. So it's not like you're gambling on Dogecoin or on shit coins or on some of the stock. Yes, it's good to invest into stock too. I'm not saying no. Diversification is key, okay? But this, given that you want to continue focusing on real estate, is an option for you with the cash that you have until you continue building confidence and resources so that you can invest into greater projects in real estate. Okay,
I like it.
That's
Yeah.
an option.
I want to do it now.
Yeah, there is so many other ideas. Keep playing the game because, man, as an entrepreneur at 29 with $120,000 per year, enjoying life and enjoying entertainment, well done, very well done.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions based on what I mentioned or anything that you would like to comment on?
I just think the biggest reminder is that for me from this was like, using the money that I have effectively and wisely. I think it's important to live life and have some fun like I am doing, but at the end of the day, if you think in the long term, sometimes you have to make some sacrifices. And so maybe I can reel back the food and the Vegas trips and instead look into putting that money into some private lending options or something like that, because if I can save that whatever $3,100 a month, that obviously can be used like
so fast,
so much more. Yeah,
I love that. I really love your situation. I really like where you are. Everybody can make efforts. Not everyone is perfect, but you are doing great, and so that's awesome to hear. All right.
Thank you.
Well, guys, thank you very much for following us on this journey. We like to provide a different perspective, of different stages of life and just different stages of financial health. And we hope that you appreciate this depth of discussion as well. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment as well if you have additional recommendations for all of us here. We are excited to see you for the next episode, and so see you next time. À bientôt.